Hello, this is Matt on the Moon Family Sedan channel. And as we in the XRP community have been pointing out for many years, it's not just XRP that is under assault by the SEC. Set aside the actual legal actions that have been taken against other developers building on top of other blockchains. What about those cryptocurrencies that are assumed to be absolutely protected? Like Bitcoin, for example. Well, there's a former SEC official and attorney who does think that Bitcoin today is a security, and he thinks that that's the case having to do with miner centralization. And I'm going to share with you that development as well as what Attorney John Deaton had to say on this. And also, in case you've not yet heard, I am sick. You can probably hear it in my voice, a little bit more raspy than normal. Everything's going to be okay. I think it's just a little touch of the flu, which is why I didn't make videos a couple days ago, but hopefully my voice will be 100% back to normal in the next day or two. But before going further, I do want to be clear, I do not have a financial background of any kind. I am not offering financial advice, and you definitely should not buy or sell anything because of anything I say or write. I'm just an enthusiast who enjoys making YouTube videos about crypto-related topics, but just as a hobby and just for fun. And so here's a headline from the Crypto Basic. Deaton says the SEC could easily turn on Bitcoin. And I'll say here even at the outset, this is not something that is impossible to happen, especially since you don't know who the hell is going to be in charge of the SEC in the future, and there is not sufficient legal clarity. I don't think it's likely to happen, but I can't rule this thing out because there isn't sufficient clarity. And if this former SEC official were still at the SEC, and if he were in charge, it sounds like he would be going for Bitcoin. It depends on whoever the dictator is in the moment. Right now we got Kim Jong-Gensler, the supreme leader and dictator of the SEC, but we're going to have a new dictator at some point. Who knows what the hell they're going to say? And so anyway, piece reads as follows. Attorney John Deaton has warned that the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission could quickly turn on Bitcoin and label the asset as a security. Deaton's comments come after a former SEC enforcement officer recently suggested that Bitcoin is a security that requires SEC registration. Ethereum maximalist Evan, and they're talking about Evan Ness. I'm going to circle back around to some more on this in a minute or two, but Ethereum maximalist Evan highlighted last week that most Bitcoin block production is controlled by two entities, Foundry USA and Antpool. This brought up fresh centralization concerns. Commenting on the disclosure, former SEC enforcement attorney John Reed Stark asked why Bitcoin is not regarded as a security that requires SEC registration. And I'll pull up his tweet in a little bit too. Deaton responded to the comment, that's definitely not a word. Deaton responded to the comment, revealing that other officials within the SEC also believe Bitcoin is an unregistered security. He pointed out that some SEC employees had already argued that Bitcoin was a security in 2015, and the claims could resurface. Deaton has also raised similar concerns regarding ETH in the past, noting that the SEC could also label the asset a security following its switch to proof of stake. Yeah, so on the ETH front, that's absurd also, but Gary Gensler, on the day that ETH switched to proof of stake, he warned that proof of stake systems might count as securities. Just happened to be on the day that Ethereum made that switch. Happened to be. Big coincidence, right? He was thinking about and referencing ETH. Come on, obviously. You don't just happen to make that comment randomly on a gigantic day for the ETH ecosystem. I don't think that at all. But yeah, so this idea that ETH was protected and safe, because of Hinman and Jay Clayton back in 2018, nonsense. It's because it was protected back then for that time period because they were in charge. What happens if somebody who is anti-Bitcoin gets in charge? And so that's why it's so rich just seeing these idiot Bitcoin maxi trolls saying, yeah, of course, go after XRP, go after Ripple. Yeah, of course, you attack them. They're completely unethical about all this. Okay, well, you might get yours. You might get yours because I'm telling you this, if the SEC gets their way with Ripple, expanding their jurisdiction, expanding their overreach, they may be coming for you next, and they may be more powerful by the time they get to you. You may regret all of that. And so there was this article by Crypto News. It happened to be shared on the Binance website, which doesn't matter. But check this out. This is from the other day, which reads as follows. And I want to highlight this so you understand why the former SEC official said what he said. And then I'm going to pull up verbatim what he said and also verbatim what Attorney John Deaton had to say. And you can also see why XRP and the XRP ledger arguably more decentralized. Just check this out. Ethereum developer Evan Van Ness voiced concern over Bitcoin's mining centralization, pointing out that the top 2 mining pools control more than half of the total hash rate. In a December 27th Twitter thread, Van Ness said that out of the last 1,000 Bitcoin blocks, 501 were mined through the Ant Pool and Foundry USA mining pools, suggesting a majority control of the hash rate. A chart of the Bitcoin hash rate distribution by BTC.com, based on 3 days of data, indicates that Foundry USA currently holds 31.1% of the hash rate, while Ant Pool 21.1%, for a total of 52.2%. Yeah, folks. If you ever heard of a 51% attack, you know why this is a concern. It is what it is. Look, it doesn't mean that I think that the 2 mining pools are going to get together and do anything nefarious. It doesn't mean that I think that. It doesn't mean that I think that it's probable that such a thing would happen. It doesn't mean that I'm arguing that Bitcoin is centralized. I'm not arguing that. I'm just saying, like, in terms of what's the most decentralized, did you know that the XRP ledger, with it, there is no such thing as a 51% attack. It literally doesn't exist. You can look at the code for proof. Pretty damn easy to figure out. So check this out for the specifics here. They write, what are mining pools and why is it a problem? A Bitcoin mining pool is a group of miners who combine their computing resources to increase their chances of finding a block and earning rewards. When a block is found, the rewards are distributed among the pool members according to their contribution to the computing power. Mining pools are necessary because the probability of finding a block in the Bitcoin network alone is very low. By joining a mining pool, miners can increase their chances of finding a block and earning rewards. Additionally, mining pools allow participants to receive a steady income stream rather than waiting for a rare block discovery. And at the same time, Bitcoin mining pools have become a significant pain point for the network's decentralization, since those entities select the transactions and the content of the blocks mined by many miners. Mining pool ghash.io is an infamous example, since it reached control of over 51% of the network's hash rate in 2014. The pool later committed to avoiding controlling more than 40% of hash rate in the future. So think about that. That was an instance in 2014 where Bitcoin literally could have been 51% attacked by that entity. Now, I think if you're, not a nefarious individual and you reach that type of position, you may understand that if you do something like that, hell will rain down upon you, especially at this point as Bitcoin's become more adopted, even if. And so I'm not stating that it's likely something like this could happen. I'm just saying in terms of the way Bitcoin code works, a 51% attack is a real thing. And Bitcoin maxi trolls like to pretend like it's not a real thing, but XRP's crap. That's what they say. Because reasons. Always for reasons, right? No sort of detailed thought analysis. They just say a bunch of crap. Piece continues. Mining pools need to control only small fractions of the total hash rate of a cryptocurrency network. It helps to ensure decentralization and security. When a single mining pool contains a significant portion of the network's hash rate, it becomes more vulnerable to a 51% attack, in which a single entity could potentially disrupt the network by controlling most of its computing power. In a 51% attack, an entity which controls most of the hash rate can compromise the integrity of the network and engage in malicious behavior, such as reversing transactions or double spending. There you go. So in 2014, that was possible. Now, the entity with that much power didn't want to ruin their opportunity in terms of mining, and they weren't nefarious actors, so great. But I don't like the fact that it was, at least back then, I'm sure, obviously more difficult now, but it was back then that easy for that to happen. The threshold for XRP and the XRP ledger is not even, in order to, pass an amendment, if an amendment is proposed in the XRP ledger, in order to pass that, you have to have greater than 80% approval sustained for greater than 2 weeks. And so to get that type of power, my gosh, good luck. I'm just saying, the code is different. It results in material differences in terms of concerns. So, I'm sorry, which crypto is more decentralized? Well, here you have John Reed Stark retweeting that thread from Evan Van Ness, where he was talking about, the 501 blocks and, being mined by Ant Pool and Foundry USA. John Reed Stark, former SEC attorney, He wrote, and how is it again that Bitcoin is not a security which requires SEC registration? And so there you go. The centralization, there you go. So that must be the common enterprise. So that's presumably that's what he's arguing, right? There you go. Now, I think that's a bogus BS nonsense argument, but he wants to destroy crypto. For whatever reasons he has. He's anti-crypto, extremely. This technology shouldn't exist. Because if he had his way, existing crypto technology would cease to be used in the United States based on what he said. It's just all gone, all of it. So don't find a way to make old, just ancient laws compliant with this new technology. Don't do that. Just get rid of it all. Because look, you can't shoehorn the new technology 100% of the time into an old legal framework. And so typically what happens, since humans realize the value of new technology, is you modify the legal framework to whatever degree you need to so that you can have the technology, the new technology, because there's utility to it. In this case, he's saying, nope, doesn't fit our old legal framework, throw it away. Doesn't matter if it's going to destroy the lives financially of many people, including entrepreneurs and developers, investors, all that. Doesn't matter. Just get rid of it. Bitcoin's a security, this guy thinks. What in the ever-loving hell? So Attorney Deaton wrote, there are others at the SEC who believe the same thing. In 2015, some at the SEC argued Bitcoin was an unregistered security. This is why it's absurd for maxis like Michael Saylor and Max Kaiser to encourage/celebrate the SEC's actions versus XRP and other tokens. SEC overreach is bad for the United States of America. 100% Attorney Deaton, but this is the world we live in. And then there's this little cartoon shared by the library account, which was just defeated a month ago by the SEC. It's a boat that's sinking. And you can see that it's taking on water on one end, and there are two people there. They got buckets. They're trying to throw the water up, but there must be a hole at the bottom. It keeps coming on in. And there's a little Ripple logo over one of the person's head, and there's a library logo over the other person's head, so they're trying to bail it out. And then the other end of the boat's just sticking up into the air. No water in that end of the boat yet. Two people right there. You've got the Ethereum logo right over one guy's head and the Bitcoin logo over the other guy's with the caption, "Sure glad the hole isn't at our end." Well done, you Bitcoin maxi idiots. My freaking God. I'm not a financial advisor. You should not buy or sell anything because of anything I say or write. That would be a very, very, very bad idea. Until next time, to the Moon family, said Anne.